Hi, everyone, and I welcome you all in the course session for AZ-500, that is Microsoft Azure Security Technologies. In this session, we are going to talk about the exam preparation of AZ-500, that is Microsoft Azure Security Technologies. And this is a free session from GTechLearn. And if you want to do register yourself for the upcoming webinars and the events related to the different courses, like SC200, SC300, PL900, AZ305. So for the same, you can visit to that link mentioned on the screen, that is gtechlearn.com/webinars ASPX, and you can do register yourself for the upcoming webinars and the events, free events what we have. As well as you can scan this QR code with your Google scanner and you can do register yourself for the upcoming webinar, as well as you can go ahead and access to the previous webinar and the event recordings if you want. That's okay. And thank you very much everyone for joining me today in this webinar session and in this exam prep session for AZ-500. Now let's get started with the exam prep session today. So first of all, we are talking about the certification journey for AZ-500. So if you are preparing or if you are planning for clear your certification exam for AZ-500, so for the same, what is the prerequisites, what is necessary in order to complete the AZ-500? And what types of self-paced learning material and training which we need in order to complete the training things of AZ-500 and make ourselves prepared for the certification for AZ-500. So if I'm talking about the prerequisites in here, so if you guys have Azure fundamental knowledge and security fundamental knowledge with you, so that will help you to learn better the concepts what we have in AZ-500. Apart from that, which type of hands-on experience do you guys have after completing the training of AZ-500? So you can implement the different security strategies over to the cloud. Like if I'm talking about the Microsoft Azure Active Directory, so you can implement the multi-factor authentication. You can implement the different type of conditional access policies. You can secure your storage endpoints, and you can also go ahead and implement the hybrid identity if you want. So there are multiple hands-on experiences you guys are having while completing the training for AZ-500. So main focus is that once you are working with AZ-500 program, so you can go for some self-placed online learning material that is available on the Microsoft Learn free of cost, as well as you can go and do register yourself for the instructor-led training where you will get one Microsoft certified trainer, and that is going to be training you for that specific course. And once you are done with all of that training material, you have all hands-on experiences with you, then you can go and prepare for the exam for AZ-500, like joining with the different AZ examination preparation sessions over there. Talking about the study resources over there, so you can have hands-on lab experience available with you. You can go and refer to the Microsoft talks for the different concepts and the topics what we have in AZ-500 exam domain, as well as if you want to test for the practices over there or test yourself for your preparation related to the AZ-500 certification examination. So you can go ahead and work with the Microsoft official practice text what we have available onto the different websites like Measure Up and exam topics over there. That's okay. So that is how we can prepare ourselves for the AZ-500 certification, and then we will certify over to the AZ-500 certificate over there. That's okay. So that is something which is related to the certification journey of AZ-500, and that is the certification path. So if I'm digging more into it, so let me open up my browser in here, and in your browser you can search for AZ-500, and let me remove it. You can only search for AZ-500, and here you can see you will get first link for the learn.microsoft.com, and that is for the exam of AZ-500, Microsoft Azure Security Technologies. And here on the Microsoft Learn page, you will see that you are having all the information available. Okay, Ritesh, my screen is not visible. That's okay. Let me see. From my side, my screen is visible, and anyone else is having the same problem? Guys, please give me the confirmation on the chat that are you guys able to see my screen? Okay, so I'm getting responses yes. So Ritesh, you please check it on your end. Maybe there is some issue on your end, and if you are still facing the same issue, you can rejoin in the session and you will be able to see the screen. Yes, no problem. Okay, so I am on some exam related things and the content related things that what are the different learning paths what we have available in a free node, or if we go for a paid one, so how we find a perfect learning partner for our requirement. So here you can see I'm also sharing that specific link over to the chat for the reference, and that is the Microsoft Learn official link, and that is a good practice to prepare yourself for the examination by using the official Microsoft link over there. So as of now in this session we are talking about the AZ-500, and for the same, here you can see in that page we are having all the information available related to the exam, that what is going to be the price for the examination according to the state, and according to the region we can see the specific price, as well as in which languages do we have our examination available, what are the different measurement things are available, what are the different objective domains are there in AZ-500 exam. So we are also going to discuss those things in our this exam prep session. Apart from that, here you can see the two ways to prepare for the AZ-500 exam. You can go for the online one that is totally free, and here you can see you can have multiple learning paths are available. Like the first one is for managing the identity and access, implementing the platform protection, secure your data and application, manage security operation. And if you want to start learning with the same, you can just click on the start button in here, and now here you can see the different things what we have present into that specific learning path or into that specific learning module. Else apart from that, we are having multiple learning paths are available for AZ-500. Apart from that, when you are learning with that official Microsoft Learning link or the modules over there, then after that, if you want to check your knowledge that what you learned so far in AZ-500. So you can go for this knowledge check session and make yourself sure that how your preparation is going on. So that is how you can utilize this knowledge check session. And here you can see you have different units are also available. Apart from that, you can have these lab exercises available with you where you have all the instructions are written over there, and you can see all the things what we have present as a part of the exercise over there. So that is how we can go for the different learning materials that is known as a self-paced learning material, and that is available on the free node on Microsoft official website. Apart from that, if I'm talking about the paid one, so here you can see just after the online free, we have another option is available that is instructor-led paid training, and we can select that specific paid training in here. And here you can see this is 4 days official Microsoft instructor-led training course. And from in here, we can browse the different sessions as well as we can see the different field strikes and the course related things from in here. So we can have multiple options are present accordingly. So from in here we can search for the city, starting date, event type, language, hours, and then we can search for the specific available session for us and do a self register for the paid trainings from the Microsoft as well. So that is something what we have to know in the certification journey that how do we prepare ourselves for the AZ-500 examination, and what are the different options which do we have available in order to work with the preparation of AZ-500. So let's get started with the official note of AZ-500 course. But before moving ahead with the session, let's discuss some important area and some important objective domain that is related to the AZ-500, which we need to focus for preparing ourselves for the AZ-500 certification exam. So the entire AZ-500 course is divided into four different main objective or important areas, whatever we can say. The first one, that is manage identity and access. And from this objective domain, we are getting 20 to 25% questions into our examination. Then we have a second objective domain is present in here, that is implementing the platform protection, and in which we are talking about the protecting our platform like virtual machine, where we are talking about the Azure firewall, we are talking about the network security groups and all things over there. From this area of the AZ-500, we are getting 35 to 40% of the questions weightage in the examination. Then we have a third objective area present for AZ-500, and that is securing data and application, and from which specific area we are getting 15 to 20% of the weightage of the questions in the examination. That's okay. Then we have a last but not the least area is present, that is managed security operation for the same, and from this area we are getting 10 to 15% of the weightage of the question in the examination. So those four are the important area for us when we are preparing ourselves for the AZ-500 examination. That's okay. So let's get into in and start the session and talking about the exam in here as well. So we all know that that is a Microsoft official examination. And in this exam, we are having total 150 minutes available for us, in which 120 minutes are for the examination, and the rest 30 minutes is for checking up our exam things over there, like check-in process and all. So we have total 150 minutes are available for the examination. And into our examination, we are having 40 to 50 questions available, and we are having three different category of the exam questions are available when we are appearing for the AZ-500 examination. So if I'm talking about the different question categories, what we have, so the first type of question category, what we are getting, that is a case study. And based on that case study, we are having 7 to 8 questions are present into that specific examination. And we have all the case study is available, where we are having the existing environment details are available. We are having the existing problem statement, and the solutions are available, and accordingly we are having 7 to 8 questions are there into that specific case study, based on to that specific case study, and we need to answer those questions while reading that specific case study. Apart from that, if I'm talking about the next category of question, what we are getting into our AZ-500 examination, so that is based on the different solutions over there, and that on based on that category, we are having 4 to 5 questions are available, and in that category of exam question, we are getting one problem statement, and for that specific problem statement, we are having 4 to 5 solutions are available into a individual question, and we need to answer accordingly as a true or false. So either the solution is true for that specific problem, or it could be false. So accordingly, we have to select true and false for that specific solution. So if the solution is perfect for that specific problem, then we need to select a true, otherwise we can go with the false option. But the important thing is that onto these type of questions, that we cannot come back to that specific question. So while giving the examination, when we are onto that specific category on examination, then we have to read that question very carefully, and we need to make decision for the specific solution, that if the answer is appropriate and the correct solution for the specific situation, then we need to go with the true option, and accordingly we need to cover all those 4 and 5 questions in the examination. Talking about the third category of the questions what we are getting into that specific examination, so those are MCQ based question, where we are having one statement, one question or one scenario available, and based on that scenario we have 4 to 5 different options are there into the screen, and we need to select one or more than one select answer or correct answer, apologies, and we need to select those answers to complete the examination. Talking about the exam scores in here, so the exam is having total 1000 score as a maximum marks, and for passing the examination, for cracking the certification for that specific course called AZ-500, we need to score 700 or more if we want to get certified for AZ-500, that is Azure Security Engineer. And it's really important to answer every question. If you have to doubt any question, then you can mark your question for the review later, and once you done with your all questions, then you can review your that specific question, and then you can go for submit the examination. So those all are the some details what we have present related to the examination over there, like how exam comes up, what is the certification generally, how can we prepare ourselves for the examination. So these all are the details that is really important for the individuals when they are preparing themselves for the examination for AZ-500. So that is all the information which do we have related to the exam certification. That's okay. And now let's get started this session with the quick introduction in here. So we are absolutely fine and we are absolutely good to working with the AZ-500 examination preparation session that is for Microsoft Azure Security Technologies. So let's get started with the session with the quick introduction in here. So my name is Ayush Mishra and I am working as a Microsoft certified trainer at GTechLearn. And if I'm talking about my experience in here, so I'm having 6+ years of experience into the training industry. Talking about my time in here, so my 60% of time goes for training the customers and my 40% of time goes for consulting the customers over there. And I am working into the infrastructure of Microsoft Azure as a primary area of my work, as well as I am working towards the security domain as a secondary area of my work for the same. Being a Microsoft certified instructor, I am holding 10 plus certifications with me. Those are related to the infrastructure side of Azure, like AZ-500, AZ-104, AZ-700, AZ-305, and as well as I'm also holding the different certification related to the security domain, in which I'm having SC200, SC300, SC400, SC100 exam certifications with me, as well as I'm certified into the Power Platform and Microsoft Dynamics 365 domain over there as well, like MB220, MB230, PL900, PL200 and all. So that is a little bit about me in terms of myself, in which things what I am certified. That is little bit about me. So let's get started this exam prep session for AZ-500 in the official note. So in this session, first of all, we are going to discuss the first objective domain of the AZ-500 examination. That is for manage identity and access. So in this objective domain, we are going to cover few things related to the Azure Active Directory. What is hybrid identity, Azure AD identity protection, Azure AD privileged identity management, and few things related to the enterprise governance. So those all are the objectives from which we are getting the questions into our examination. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the Azure Active Directory in here. So Microsoft Azure Active Directory is a Microsoft's multi-tenant cloud-based directory and identity management service. Just give me a quick moment in here. And okay, so if I'm talking about the Azure Active Directory, okay, so Azure Active Directory is a identity provider from the Microsoft. And we also say that this is a central identity provider for the different Microsoft services what we have, like Microsoft Azure, Dynamics 365, Office 365 per platform over there. And that is also known as a multi-tenant cloud-based directory and identity management service, where we are having all the user data available, and we can utilize the Azure Active Directory for the authentication and authorization purposes over there. If I'm talking about the IT administrators, so in that case, the Azure Active Directory provides the easy solution for the authentication and the authorization for the different services, as we can see on the screen, like Office 365 and the different SaaS services what we have available. That's okay. Apart from that, if I'm moving ahead with the presentation, let me go ahead and moving ahead. So we can compare Azure Active Directory with the on-premises Active Directory as well. So we all know that when we are working with our on-premises environments over there, then for the user and computers management and for the identity managements, we are utilizing Windows Server Active Directory domain services. But when we are working with the Microsoft Cloud environment over there, then for the identity related things, we are having that solution available, that is also known as identity as a solution, that is Azure Active Directory. And by utilizing that Azure Active Directory, we can manage our users over there. So talking about the difference between the Active Directory, that is our Windows Active Directory domain services, and Azure Active Directory. So first difference what we have, that is the authentication method. As we see in here, that Windows Active Directory domain services is using the Kerberos and NTLM protocol for the authentication. And if I'm talking about the Azure Active Directory in here, so that is using SAML, OpenID Connect, and WS Federation as the authentication. If I'm talking about the structure, so we can have organizational Unix are present, and we can have hierarchical structure available into the Windows Server Active Directory domain services. Apart from that, the Azure Active Directory is having the flat structure, and we can work according to the tenant based onto that specific thing. So that is the difference what we have, and few differences between the Active Directory domain services and the Azure Active Directory, as well as there is no support available for the mobile device management in Active Directory domain services. But if we want to have some mobile device management things available, so for the same we can go ahead and utilize the Azure Active Directory. That's okay. In the Azure Active Directory, we can have different roles are available, and there are different roles what we have present in here as a part of Azure Active Directory. So there are few built-in roles is mentioned onto the screen, as you all can see. The first one, that is a global administrator, security administrator, billing administrator, and the global rigor. And one more thing, guys, if you having any query and a question related to the session, so please put your queries onto the chat, and I'm really happy to answer all of them. So first of all, if I'm talking about the roles in Azure Active Directory, so the role is set of permission what we have giving to the users in order to work towards the Azure Active Directory, and in order to work with the different things. So we can say that these roles are the specific set of permission. So here, if I'm talking about few built-in roles, so you can see that the global administrator built-in role, that is a role that gives the all administrative access for the Azure Active Directory objects what we have. Then we have a security administrator role available, and if any user is having the security administrator role available with them, so by using that, having that role, user can manage the security related features into the Microsoft 365 security center. User can manage the Azure Active Directory identity protection and information protection related things. If we want to give access to the user in order to make purchases, managing the different subscription, manage the support ticket, and monitor the services. So for the same, we can provide the user with the billing administrator role over there. Apart from that, there is a global legal role is available. So by having this role enabled, user can read the different administrative settings and information across the different Microsoft 365 services. So that is the read only permission to the users. And with having that specific permission, user can't make any changes into the environment, but they can still access those resources as a read only mode only, and they can view those settings only. So these all are the some roles what we have present in Azure Active Directory. And I'm not saying that these four roles is present in Azure Active Directory. We have 60 built-in roles are present in Azure Active Directory. And apart from that, if we want, we can also go ahead and create some custom roles according to our requirement. And for the same, we can select the specific set of permission for the specific custom role what we are creating according to our requirement. That's okay. Moving to the next part of this session. So that is talking about the Azure AD user. So if I'm talking about the Azure AD user in here, so in Azure Active Directory, every user who needs to access the specific resource needs an user account. And by using the user section of Azure Active Directory, we can create and manage the users over there. And also, if we want to sync the users from our on-premises Active Directory towards the Azure Active Directory, so we can also go ahead and sync the user account from our local Active Directory to Azure Active Directory. So in Azure AD user, all the user objects are containing all the information that is required for the authentication and the authorization purposes over there. So let's go back to the portal and show you how do we go ahead and we can manage the settings. Those are related to the user, and what are the different type of users which do we have present. So I'm just quickly opening up my portal. So I am moving back to my browser, and here let me close these tabs, and I'm opening up portal.azure.com, and I'm making a login to the Azure portal. And with that account, let me make a login to the Azure portal. And now here you can see if I click on these three lines in here, and here I'm having that option present, that is Azure Active Directory. And here inside this Azure Active Directory, you can see the directory name. In my case, it is Contoso. And from the left hand side, here you can see the user option is present into the manage section. And once I click on the user option in here, you can see that I'm having all the user details are present in here, whatever the users I have present into my Azure Active Directory. Here I can see the display name for my user, what is the user principal name, and what is the type of the user what I have, if there is any on-premises sync user is present into my Azure Active Directory, then this option is marked as yes. I can see the department for my user, what is the object ID, and so on. So we can have the all user details are present in here. So from in here, we can manage the user. And what are the different things what we have present in order to managing the user? In managing user, we can have option present for creating the user. We can remove the user. We can manage the licenses for the user. We can manage the permission for the user. We can manage the group access for the user. We can manage the different users location for the user. So in managing the user, we can have multiple options are present. So as a user management thing, if we want to create one or two or three users, so what we can do, we can simply click on the new user button, and from in here we can easily create a new user. But in the corporate scenarios where we need to create 500, 100, or 200 users at a time, so in that case, it is not a best practice to go ahead and create all those users one by one. So for the same, in Microsoft Azure Active Directory, we can have one more option present inside the user option, that is for the bulk operation. And by using that specific bulk operation, we can create the user, we can invite the user, and we can also delete the user as a bulk manner. Means if we want to create multiple users at a time, so we can go ahead and select the option bulk create user. If we want to delete multiple user at a time, so we can go and utilize bulk delete option. If we want to invite multiple users at the same time, so we can go ahead and utilize that bulk invite option for the same. Apart from that, if we want to set up few security related things to the user, so we can also go ahead and apply the multi-factor authentication to the user. So let's take a quick example in here, that if we want to create a bulk user in Azure Active Directory, then how do we do that? So let me open this up into a new page. And from in here, I am going to select that option, that is bulk create. And here I need to download one CSV template file. That's okay. So I have downloaded the template file, and from the Azure AD overview, let me copy the primary domain name, whatever the domain name I'm using as of now for my this Azure Active Directory. I am opening up this Excel file, what I have downloaded, and here I have to provide few required details like the display name, username, initial password, block sign in, or account enabled or not. And I can provide one more thing, that is users location. So there are few things what I have to provide into that specific Excel file. So here you can see I'm putting a few random usernames like user01, user02. Let me drag it. And for example, I want to create 10 different users. And here I want to type user01 at the rate, and then I'm entering up the domain name, what I have copied. Then in the initial password, let me type this one is going to be my initial password. I don't want to block sign in for that user as of now. And in the user location, let me set this thing to the India. Okay. And from in here, let me copy those details, and I want to put these all details same. And here I can go with that option. Let me paste it. And here I can press the Control E for the autofill. And let me copy those details again. And I am going to fill that space again. Let me save this file. And in the first name, you can type user, like a 01. Okay, and here I need to type 10. Now here you can see I have all the details available into my CSV file for my 10 users. So I have prepared my CSV file for the bulk user import in Azure Active Directory. And once I am done with that, let me save that specific file. I am closing it up and I am going to upload that specific CSV file what I have downloaded. So let me go to the downloads and here I am selecting my that file. And now here you can see my file uploaded successfully without any error. The important thing, guys, if you are having any missing value into your CSV file, then you will get some error in here. So as of now, in my case, everything is good. Let me go ahead and click on the submit. Once I click on the submit, the bulk operation is started and that operation is in progress. If I want to see the status of that specific bulk operation, what I have applied, so I can go and click onto that specific option, and from in here you can see the specific thing that the bulk operation is in progress, and here you can see the status, it is success. So after completing the bulk operation, if I am refreshing my page and I'm moving towards the user option into the Azure Active Directory, then now you can see that I have all the users are present what I have created. So that is the way how we can work with the bulk operation. So this is one quick demonstration related to the users. So that is the way that how we create a new user. If I'm talking about the type of the user, so we can have multiple type of users are present in Azure Active Directory. Either we can have the Azure AD user, which is a part of my Azure Active Directory. The users what we are creating into our Azure Active Directory, that is known as my Azure Active Directory user. If we are inviting a user from any external organization, so that is going to be our guest user. And if we are syncing our user from our on-premises Active Directory, so that is going to be the sync user or on-premises sync user for our Azure Active Directory. That's okay. So that is something what we have to discuss into the Azure AD users. Moving ahead and talking about the Azure AD group. So in Azure Active Directory, we can create two different type of groups over there. Either we can go ahead and create a security group, or we can go ahead and create a Microsoft 365 group. So if we want to assign some licenses, if we want to assign some roles, if we want to assign some permissions over there, then we can go ahead and utilize the security group. Apart from that, we can go ahead and create a Microsoft 365 group for the Office 365 purposes over there. So that is the two way how which we can create a group in Azure Active Directory. Apart from that, if I'm talking about the assignment type, so we can have three different type of assignment method are available for the group membership. For a quick example in here, if I have created two groups, that is my group 1 and that is my group 2. And for my group 1, I am adding members manually. So that is going to be the assigned type of the membership in my group. Apart from that, if I'm going with the dynamic user option, so here I have to provide one query, and based on that specific query, the users will automatically going to be added onto that specific group. For example, I have 100 user present in my Azure Active Directory, and in those 100 user, I have 10 or 20 users are there with HR department, and I want to add these users into the all of those users into the group 2 automatically. So for the same, I can go ahead and create a new group with the dynamic user membership over there. And for the same, what I can do, I can put one query that if the department is equal to HR, then automatically add those users to the group 2. So that is the one way how we can go ahead and dynamically add the users inside the group. Same like that, if we want to assign the dynamic device option, so for the same we can go ahead and utilize the dynamic device option. But the important thing is that if you want to manage the assignment type as a assigned or a dynamic user, so you can utilize these two assignment types for the Microsoft 365 group and security group as well. But if you want to create a dynamic device type of assignment, then that should be only applied to the security groups over there. So that is something what we have to look into the Azure AD groups. And if I'm moving back to my Azure portal in here, so as of now, here you can see that I have multiple users are present, and here you can see that we have different departments are available, like HR department, IT department, legal department, finance department, retail department. And same as like that, if I'm selecting any one of the users from in here, so for example, my user 08, and I want to change some detail for that specific user. So we can easily go ahead and edit the property for that specific user. And let me go ahead to the department, and I want to set the department for that specific user rate as a HR department, and let me save it. So as of now, if I'm moving back to my user section in Azure Active Directory, and inside the user, I am making a filter, and inside that specific filter of the department, I want to select the department equals to HR, and I'm going to apply that filter. So now here you can see I have two users are present with the same department HR. Moving back to my Azure Active Directory, and in the group section, I want to create a new group, and that is my HR GRP, and this is the demo for exam prep session. That's okay. Let me correct the spelling. And here you can see in the membership type, I can go ahead and select the dynamic user. And then once I select the dynamic user option, I have to add a dynamic query. And the query is going to be if the department equals HR, then I can save this query. And if we want to validate our query, so we can also go ahead and validate the rule. Let me click on the validate, and I can add the users. So for example, let me select different user, and I want to select user 08 and go with the select. And here you can see if I'm validating my rule, so I can add user 08 as a member of this group, because according to the query, the department for my user 8 is equals to HR. Yes, we can use the partial scripts as well, but for the same, we need to import the MS Online module. That's okay. And once we have validated the rule, then we can go ahead to the group and click on the create. And let me refresh it. Okay, no problem. And now here you can see that I have HR group present with the dynamic membership type in here. And if I'm selecting that specific group and moving ahead to the members, then you can see after some time that I have two members are there as a part of this HR group according to the query. So it could take some time, like 5 or 4 minutes, and then after we can see that thing, or else what we can do, we can refresh the page and see the details. into the HR group, we can go to the members. And now here you can see I have these two members are automatically added as a part of that specific group. That's okay. So that is the one thing what we have in here as a demonstration. Moving ahead and talking about the administrative unit in here. So that is the very important thing what we have present in Azure Active Directory. And we can configure that specific thing by using the Power Shell, by using the Azure Active Directory portal, by using the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, as well as we can use the Microsoft Graph for the deployment of the administrative unit. What is the use case and what is the use of administrative unit? So that is used to delegate the administration of Azure AD resource to the specific person or a role. What does it mean? So for the quick example in here, there is a company Fabricam available, and in this Fabricam company, there are 200 users are present in Azure Active Directory. If we are assigning the user administrator role to any one of the user in Fabricam, then that person can manage all the users what we have present into the Azure Active Directory with the limited admin related things. And in all those 200 users, we have different departments are there, like HR department, like IT department, like finance department. And as an administrator, what I want to restrict and maintain the least privilege access related thing. So for the same, what we can do, instead of giving the user administrator role to the individual user, we can create a administrative unit according to the department, and accordingly we can define the user administrator role for the department. So in that case, only the HR admin can manage the HR user, IT admin can manage the IT user, and finance admin can manage the finance user over there. So by using that, we can also follow the least privilege access, and we can delegate the specific permission to the specific person, and we can add the admin unique members according to the users and the groups. So that is the use of administrative unit what we have present in Azure Active Directory. That's okay. Now talking about the Azure AD Connect in here, so if we want to set up hybrid scenario, if we want to sync our on-premises Active Directory users towards the Azure Active Directory, so for the same, what we can do, we can go ahead and utilize that specific tool that is known as a Azure AD Connect that will help us to integrate our on-premises directories with Azure Active Directory, and that will provide us the common identity for the different Office 365, Azure, and software as a service applications what we have integrated with Azure Active Directory. And also we have multiple authentication options are available when we are configuring the hybrid identity over there. That's okay. So here in this picture, you can see that we have few users and devices are present onto the on-premises Active Directory. And if we want to give access to those users to the resources what we have present in my Azure Active Directory, so for the same, what we can do, we can implement this tool in between on-premises Active Directory and Azure Active Directory that is known as the Azure Reconnect. And by using that tool, we can sync all the on-premises users towards the Azure Active Directory, and then those users can have access to the different resources what we have present as a part of Azure Active Directory. Apart from that, we can have one more tool available that is the Azure AD Connect Cloud Sync tool. So that is the alternative method for integration for our on-premises directory to the Azure Active Directory that is using the Azure AD Cloud Provisioning Agent, and that can run scan alone alongside with the Azure AD Connect over there. That's okay. So that is the optional tool or alternate tool what we have present if we want to set up the hybrid scenario over there. Moving ahead And talking about the authentication options, what we have, so when we are implementing the Azure AD Connect over there, we can have multiple authentication options are present. The first one, that is the password hash synchronization, and by using that specific authentication option, all the user details are synced with the Azure Active Directory, and when user is trying to sign in, the authentication is managed by the Azure Active Directory. Apart from that, we are having the second authentication method is present, that is pass-through authentication. And in that case, when user makes a login, then the authentication request is moved to the on-premises server, and from there, the user authentication request will be authenticated by the on-premises domain controller. Then we have a ADFS is available, where we can set up the another federation related thing, and that is the trust relationship what we are creating. And by having that specific thing, we can go ahead and manage the ADFS authentication option as well. So we have these three different authentication methods are present when we are implementing the hybrid identity over there. That's okay. Apart from that, if we want to utilize the password write back feature as a feature present in Azure Active Directory, and we want to reset the password for our on-premises user by using the Azure Active Directory. So for the same, what we can do, we can enable that option in Azure Active Directory Connect, and that will give us the capability to configure the password write back option over there. But the important thing is that for the same, we must have the premium Azure Active Directory license available with us. That's okay. Then, if I'm talking about the user risk and the sign-in risk policies over there, that is the important part when we are talking about the identity protection in here. So if I'm talking about the first one, and in this slide here, you also can see the user risk policy. So that is the policy that is going to be applied to the user sign in, and it will automatically respond based on the specific user risk level. So what the user risk policy is? So the user risk policy is something that detect the probability that a user account has been compromised by detecting the different risk events that are atypical or a user behavior. So according to those, it will give you the user risk related things, and you can see the risk level, and then you can accordingly allow and block the access, and you can go with the required password change option as well. That's okay. Now the next one, talking about the sign-in risk policy. So if I am talking about the sign-in risk policy, so that is applied to all browser traffic and sign-ins by using the Morgan authentication over there. And the sign-in risk policy is something that is having the sign-in related risk present, like atypical travel or those things. So that is the indicator of the sign-in attempt that might not performed by the legitimate owner of a user account over there. So we can have multiple things are present. And in the sign-in risk policy, we can also manage the risk level, and accordingly we can block and allow the access over there. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the multi-factor authentication in here. So as we all know that when we are trying to access any resource, any application, and any social media account as well, then we must have to provide the username and the password as to provide the authentication that yes, we are the authenticated user who are going to access like a specific resource, access, or application. But by using the multi-factor authentication, we can make our account or our resource secure by providing one extra layer of security into it. So once we have provided or supplied the correct username and password and proved our authentication, proved our authenticity, then apart from that, we have to again provide the authentication to access the specific resource where we can have something in which can we have having the password, then something you have a trusted device like our mobile phone or something, and we can have something you are where we are providing the biometric and related details over there. So we can add the multi-factor authentication, and once the first factor authentication has been done, then we need to again provide our identity that is also completing the first guiding principle of the zero trust model, that is verify explicitly. So you have to provide your authentication again in order to access the specific thing. That's okay. Moving ahead with the next part of this thing, so there is an option for enabling the multi-factor authentication. So we can enable the multi-factor authentication to the users, and it could be three state like enabled, enforced, and disabled. So by default it is disabled, and if you want you can configure it and enforce it to the user. So when you have applied the multi-factor authentication to the user, so that has been enabled for the user, and users are prompted for changing those settings over there. And the important thing is that Azure MFA is a free service for global administrator security over there. That's okay. So how we can go ahead and enable the multi-factor authentication? So here in a portal, you can see once we are on the users section, let me go to the users, and here you can see in the users tab, we can have this option available that is per user MFA. So we can have multiple options are present if we want to configure and enable the multi-factor authentication. So as of now, if I'm talking about this one, so here you can see by default, the multi-factor authentication is disabled for all of these users. If we want to enable the multi-factor authentication for the user, then we can select and go with the bulk update. We can enable it and we can enforce it. Same as like that, we can have individual option present, we can select the specific user and click on the enable option. So that is how we can enable the multi-factor authentication. And once we have enabled the multi-factor authentication to a specific user, then at the next time when user makes login, then user must have to provide their MFA details like phone number or email ID where user is receiving the one-time code when they are making a sign-in. So that is the way how we can enable the multi-factor authentication. That's okay. Apart from that, we can have one option present for the conditional access, and that is the really important thing what we have present as a part of identity management security over there. So that is you taking the user signal in order to make a decision, and according to those signal, the conditional access policy is going to provide the access to the specific app or the resource to the user. So it could take a signal from the user location, from the application from which user is trying to access the specific service or resource. It will take the signal from the devices and the risk time, and based on that it is making the decision for allowing the access or blocking the access or giving the access with some required changes to the application on the data over there. If I'm talking about the conditions, so we can create the condition according to the user and a group. We can create the condition according to the cloud application. We can create the condition with the devices state, location, client application, and the sign-in risk, and accordingly we can allow and block the access for the same. So there are two major parts are there for the conditional access policy. The first one that is condition, and the next one that is access control. So in the condition, we are defining when happens this or when this happen, and in the access control, we are providing the information then do this. For a quick example in here, I have one user, Alex is present, and Alex is accessing my office resources with the corporate device. And at any given point of time, if Alex is trying to access my office resources or access the organization resources with their personal laptop, then for the same, we can go ahead and apply the conditional access policy. Like if someone is trying to access the organization resources apart from the corporate device, then we have to block the user access. Or if user is trying to access the information from the specific location, so for the same we can go ahead and block the access for the specific user. The important thing is that if we want to implement the conditional access policy over there, then for the same we have to disable the security default first, and we must have Azure Active Directory Premium license available with us in order to use the conditional access policy. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the access review in here. So that is the really important thing when we are talking about the access review in here. And by using the access review, we can review the access to the users, and accordingly users can maintain their access, and we can provide the specific access to the users only. For an example, we are working with the project where we have few users are present, and after some time that project is completed and we want to remove those users from that specific thing, so by using the access review we can manage the access to the specific user, to the specific group membership as well. So that is used for evaluating the guest user access. We can evaluate the employee access to the specific application as the group membership. We can track the review for compliance and risk sensitive applications. We can also utilize the access review for the PIM roles over there. And apart from that, the important thing is that if you want to utilize that feature, access review, then you must have enabled the Azure Ready Premium P2 license with you and the global admin membership with you. And then you can go ahead and create the access review for the same. That's okay. Apart from that, we have one more thing is available in here, that is privileged identity management. And the privileged identity management is something that is providing the just in time based access to the user. And when user is activating the access, then user must have to provide the justification that why user wants to activate that specific role. And we can also conduct the access review for the privileged identity management. Okay, so that is the things what we can do by using the privileged identity management, and these all are the different features what we have present into it. But the question comes up, what is the use of privileged identity management? So if we want to give someone access for the specific time period, so for the same we can go ahead and utilize the PIM feature of Azure Active Directory. So if I have one administrator available in my organization and that is going on to the leave, or that user is going for some important meeting for 1 hour or 2 hours for 1 or 2 day, and for the same time if he wants to delegate the administrative rights to another user, so for the same what we can do, we can utilize the PIM, because if this user is giving the user a permanent role and then he forgets to remove the rule, then we are in the security concern. So apart from that, what we can do, we can utilize the PIM, and we can only provide the just in time based access to the specific user. So if the access is required, then only user can enable the role and work into it. So that will help us to prevent the removable removal of last active global admin role, last active administrator role what we have assigned. And we can also go ahead and enforce the MFA to the role activation. Like when someone is trying to activate the specific role, then user must have to provide the multi-factor authentication detail, as well as we can see the audit history, that after activating that specific role, what are the changes has been made by the specific user. So these all are the things what we can manage by configuring the PIM, and we can configure the PIM towards the Azure AD role. So in that case, the user must evaluate to use the privilege granted by the role, and that is prioritizing and protecting the Azure AD roles that have the greatest number of permission, like user administrator role, global administrator role over there. And we can also configure the privileged identity management to the Azure resources over there, and that will identify the management for the groups, management for the subscriptions over there, and we can also configure the same for the Azure resources. So that is the scope of privileged identity management, where we can configure that specific thing. So that is all related to the PIM scope. And if I'm talking about the PIM and the access reviews, these all are the things what we can find inside the governance section of Azure Active Directory. And moving back to my Azure portal in here, so in this portal, you can see if I am moving back to my Azure Active Directory, here inside the identity governance, you can find both of these options for the access review and the privileged identity management. And here you can see you can configure the PIM for Azure AD role and Azure resources as well. That's okay. Now moving ahead and talking about the shared responsibility model. So when we are moving towards the cloud, when we are moving our organization towards the cloud, then we also clear with that thing that which responsibility is going to be managed by the cloud service provider and which responsibilities is going to be managed by the customer, by the organization. And that is totally dependent on to the service type what we are getting from the cloud service provider. So if we are moving with the on-prem thing or on-prem option, then everything is going to be managed by the customer, as we can see on this picture. Apart from that, if I'm talking about the infrastructure as a service, so till the physical host, everything is going to be managed by your by your cloud service provider. And in our case, all the things is going to be managed by the Microsoft. Okay. And apart from that, the network control application and identity and infrastructure is going to be the shared responsibility model between the customer and the Microsoft over there. So accordingly, what type of service what we are using, like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service, we can have shared responsibility available between the customer and the cloud service provider over there. That's okay. Moving ahead, and talking about the Azure hierarchy. So if we want to manage different subscription and we have multiple departments are in there, so we can go ahead and create the Azure hierarchy according to the management groups. And by using that, we can manage the different subscriptions over there. And inside the management group, we can have multiple subscriptions are available. So that will give us the capability to manage the resources accordingly. And in that case, the resource group and the container for resources that shares the same life cycle. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the Azure policy in here. So that is something what we can enforce for the compliance related thing. And we can utilize the Azure policy, and that is a managed service what we can use to create, assign, and manage the different policies. For example, if we are giving the access to our employees in order to create the virtual machine, and our employees are creating the heavy size of virtual machines over there. So by applying the Azure policy, what we can do, we can set up a policy that only the specific SKU is allowed for the deployment. The specific location is allowed for the deployment. You must have to provide the tag and its value when you are creating the resources. So we can manage the compliance related things, we can manage the remediation, and we can apply the policy at a scale in order to work with the compliant manner according to the organization rules over there. So for the same, we can go ahead and use the Azure policies. So that is the one thing. Apart from that, we can have role-based access control is available. Be remember guys, when we are talking about the Azure AD role and the role-based access control, both are the different thing. If I'm talking about the first one, that is Azure role-based access control. So that is something which we are going to provide to the resources. And if we want to access the resources, if we want to grant the permission to access the specific resource, then for the same, we are moving with the role-based access control. And if we are moving with the next one, that is the Azure AD role. So where we are only talking about the objects, what we have in Azure Active Directory. So here we can have multiple role-based access control available like reader, contributor and owner. So readers can only observe the thing, can you see the things. Contributor role is something by which the user can have managed the resources, but that user cannot share that access with any other user. And owner is having the full permissions available with him like admins over there. And we are using the role-based access control for the different resources what we have in Azure. That's okay. Then we have one more thing is available into this objective domain. The first one, managing identity, that is resource lock. And we can add the resource lock to the resource level and the resource group level. And the important thing is that locks are inherited by the child resources. And we can apply two different type of resource locks over there. The first one, that is read only lock, that will help us to prevent any changes to the resource. And the next one, that is delete lock, that will help us to prevent the accidental deletion for the resources over there. Or while we are moving the resource locks can be applied to the specific resources. So we can have resource lock option also available. So if we want to implement it, we can select the specific resource and the resource group. And from the left hand side of section, we can search for the lock and we can apply the resource lock over there. So we can set up a read only resource lock, or also we can set up a delete lock to the specific resource according to our requirement. So that is all about the objective domain first one. And let's take have a look some practice questions what we have in this objective domain. So please have your answers over to the chat. So the question number one is, your company recently created an Azure subscription and you have been tasked with making sure that a specific user is able to implement Azure AD PIM, privileged identity management. Which of the following is the role you should assign to the user? Global administrator role, security administrator role, password administrator role, the compliance administrator role. Please have your answers on the chat. I'm starting the timer. Yes, you guys are correct. For this question, the correct answer is going to be one. The global administrator role should assign to the users. That's okay. Moving to the next question. Azure AD PIM is used to manage which of the following role? Azure Privileged User, Azure Resource Groups, and Azure AD roles. Please have your answers. I'm starting the timer again. Okay, so for this question, the correct answer is going to be C. We can implement and we can use the Azure AD to manage Azure AD role and Azure resources over there. So for this one, the correct answer is going to be C. That's okay. Moving ahead with the next question. That is, the company hires a new administrator and needs to create a new Azure AD user account for them. That's okay. The new hire must be able to read write resource deployment they are responsible for, read Azure AD access permission. They should not be able to view subscription information. What should be configured to make this work? Assign the user the contributor role at the resource group level. Assign the user the owner role at the resource level. Assign the user the global administrator role. Please have your answers on the chat. So yes, you guys are correct. For this question, the correct answer is going to be A. Moving ahead with the next question, the compliance auditors want to ensure as employees change job or leave the company that their privileges are also changed or revoked. They are especially concerned about the administrator group. To address their concern, you implement which of the following? Access review, just-in-time access, Azure time-based policy. Please have your answers on the chat. So yes, for this question, the correct answer is A. Moving ahead with the next question. So which of the following is an authentication option that integrates with Azure Active Directory, requiring you to use several different methods like your phone to confirm your identity? Figure to security key, Microsoft Authenticator key, Azure AD multi-factor authentication. So please have your answers. Yes, so for the same, the correct answer is C. So that is all in here. And moving to the next objective domain of the AZ-500 exam, that is for implement platform protection. Moving ahead and talking about this objective. So in this one, we are having the main objectives like perimeter security, network security, and host security over there. Talking about the first one, the perimeter security. So in that one, we are having the distributed denial of service, DDoS, I think present, and the goal of denial of service attack is to prevent access to the service and the system. So that is a DOS attack. What is the distributed denial of service? So that is something where we are utilizing the collection of the botnets where multiple bots are sending the traffic to the specific target, and that is aimed for disrupting the availability of the target by exhausting the resources to the target. So with for dealing that type of security risk or that type of risk, Azure is providing the distributed denial of service DDoS protection to us, and that is present with us with the two different type of SKUs or the tiers, what we can say, the standard one and the basic one. So basic one is a free of cost, and if we go with the standard type of DDoS attack protection thing, then we can go for the standard one and we have to pay some charge to the Azure, and we can have proper protection available with the DDoS type of attacks over there. Apart from that, we can have Azure Firewall present with us. And if I'm talking about the Azure Firewall in here, so inside the Azure Firewall, we can utilize that thing in order to provide the security to our resources that is having the different level of security things are available, and that is a fully managed service that is provided the layer 3 and level 7 filtering over there, and that is the fully managed service from the Microsoft. And if I'm talking about the different features, so we can maintain the high availability for that specific Azure firewall, as I told you, because that is a managed service. We can also create the different network traffic filtering rule over there. We can create different TNAC rules and the internet application access rules over there. Talking about the SKUs, what we have present, so we can have two different type of SKUs are present as well into the Azure firewall. The first one that is a standard one, and the another one that is the premium one. Inside the premium one, we are having the URL filtering option available, TLS inspection, and the different premium features are available into the premium one. So that is the something which provide the advanced threat protection that meets the need of highly sensitive and regulated environment, such as the payment industries and the healthcare industries over there. So in the premium SKU, we are having the different features available like IDPs and the TLS inspection in order to prevent our environment from the different malware and the viruses over there. That's okay. If I'm talking about the implementation of the firewalls, we can have multiple options are present for implementing the firewall, and we can create the firewall subnet into our virtual network, and then we can implement the Azure firewall over there. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the network security group, so that is the very important thing to us when it comes up to filter the traffic for a virtual machine. And by utilizing the network security group, we can utilize the security rule in order to allow or deny the traffic to our resource. And in the network security group, we are having some default inbound and outbound rules are available that allow the virtual network and load balancer only, and all other traffic is going to be denied. And if I'm talking about the implementation of the NSG, so we can implement the NSG over to the network interface card level, or as well as we can implement that NSG onto the subnet level as well. So if we are implementing the network security group, so we can have option available to apply or add multiple rules for the multiple services over there. And if we are utilizing the multiple network security groups at the subnet level or at the NIC level, then we must have to allow the specific service from the multiple sites of network security group. For example, I have associated NSG1 on the NIC level, and I have associated NSG2 on the subnet level, and I have allowed the RDP traffic over there. Then if I want to access my this virtual machine resource, for example, from the public internet, then we must have to create one allow RDP rule in here, and then only I will be able to access my specific resource. So we can have multiple options are present, and the priority plays a important role when we are implementing the network security group. So if we have two different rules are present, the first one that is allow HTTP traffic with 100 priority, and then we have a deny rule available with the HTTP priority with 110. So this is going to be considered first because this one is having the low priority present over there. That's okay. Apart from that, we can have also option present for the service endpoint, and we can maintain the service endpoint. We can set up the service endpoint in our virtual networks in order to provide the specific access to the specific resources only. So for the same, what we can do, let me jump up to the portal and show you. So here you can see if I'm on my portal and I'm creating one virtual network quickly. Let me create this virtual network and let me create a new resource group that is AZ-500RG VNet demo, and I want to deploy it onto the East US region. Let me go with the review and create, and in a new tab, I'm opening up a new Azure portal, and here I'm going to create a storage account quickly. Let me create a new one, and I want to create it onto the different resource group that is my AZRG. That's okay. And this is my AZ-500 demo storage account. Let me go with the LRS redundancy, review and create. And here you can see in the virtual network validation gets passed. Let me click on the create and let me do for same for the storage account. Once the validation gets done, I'll be able to create that specific storage account as well. That's okay. So it is running the validation and we need to wait. And here you can see the validation passed. Let me click on the create and the deployment for this one is in progress. Okay, so now here you can see the deployment of my virtual network is completed. That's okay. And now once I'm on my virtual network, here you can see I have my address space available. I have my subnets available into my virtual network, what I have selected at the time of the deployment. Here you can see into this left area, I am having this service endpoint option available, and I want to add a new service point, and I want to add that specific service point for Microsoft Doc Storage. So now here you can see I am going to apply that onto my specific subnet. Let me click on the add, and I'm adding one service endpoint to my virtual network for Azure storage, and it is updated. That's okay. And now here you can see I have added this service point to my default subnet what I have present into my VNet demo virtual network. And now you can see that I have this virtual storage account, my apologies, also in place. Let me quickly go to the container and I want to create a new one. And this is my core data. And I want to give the blob level access and go for the create. Here you can see I have this container available. Let me quickly upload one file into it. Okay, I want to upload this user create template file. Let me click on the upload. And I have my this file available. If I am moving back to my storage account, here you can see in the storage explorer, if I am selecting this one, storage browser, I can have access to the blob container. That's okay. Now, what the next thing I'm going to do, here you can see in the security plus networking, the access level for this storage account is enabled for all network. Let me change it to the enable from selected virtual network and IP address. And I want to add the existing virtual network. And this is my VNet demo. And the subnet is default is selected. Let me click on that. And once I have done with that thing, let me go ahead and click on the save button. Okay, so now here you can see that thing is set up. And once I have saved with that setting, let me refresh my page. And now here you can see if I'm again trying to access the storage browser and I'm moving to the container. Okay, it will take some time. Let me close this page and let me refresh this page again. Let me go to the storage account and this is the one. Let me go ahead and select the networking option and let me verify the changes what I have made. Okay, I have not added my IP as of now and let me try to access the storage browser into the block container. I am having the access, that's okay. So the thing is that here you can see the request is not authorized to perform this operation because I have only provided the access to the specific virtual network. And in my virtual network, I have added one service endpoint for this storage account. So that is how we can go ahead and configure the service endpoint and utilize it for the specific service. So by having that, only my specific virtual network can have access to that specific storage account and the other internet access has been blocked. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the load balancer in here. So load balancer is something that is used to balance the load in my involvement in our environment. For example, if we are having a web server available and inside that web server we are getting the traffic and we have multiple servers are available. So instead of getting all the traffic inside the one web server, what we can do, we can route that traffic to the different web servers what we have. So for the same, Azure is providing us one service that is the Azure Load Balancer that is operates at the layer 4 of OSI model, and that is the single point of contact for client, and that is distribute the inbound flow to the different things over there. If I'm talking about the types of the load balancer, so we can have two type of load balancer is available. The first one that is public load balancer and the next one that is a private load balancer, or we can say the internal load balancer, as well as we can say that one as an internal or external load balancer as well. So the public load balancer provide the outbound connection for the virtual machine that is present inside your virtual network, and the private load balancer is used where the private IPs are needed at the front end only, and internal load balancer are used to balance the traffic inside your virtual network. So when we are getting the traffic from the internet and we want to distribute that traffic towards the web tier what we have, so for the same we are using the public load balancer, and when we have to balance the traffic inside our virtual network. So for the same, we are utilizing the internal load balancer. That's okay. Now moving ahead and talking about the application gateway. So as I told you, the Azure Load Balancer is something which operates at the layer 4 of the operating system, sorry, open system interconnection model. The application gateway from the Azure is something that is work on the layer 7, and that will provide us the URL based routing and path based routing related capabilities over there. So for example, if we are having a scenario where we can have multiple servers are present, like our first server is for the images and the another server is for the videos, and any user is requested to access the images by having the URL like contoso.com/images, and the another user is accessing the videos by that URL contoso.com/videos. So if the URL is having the images into that, then the traffic will be redirected to the images server. And if that URL contains the videos, then that traffic is redirected to the video server. So that is something what we can configure by using the Azure Application Gateway over there, and we can create the path based redirection or the URL based routing over there. So if we have multiple domains are available and we want to divide the traffic accordingly. So for the same, we can also go ahead and create the rule, and based on that specific rule, the traffic will be directed to the different things what we have like app server and the virtual machine scale set as well. That is configured as a backend pool of my application gateway. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the Azure Bastion, so that is a very good managed service what we have present as a part of the host security. And for the same, what we can do, we can access our Windows machine without having the RDP enabled over there. Without utilizing the RDP, we can also access the Linux based virtual machines without having the SSH available, and that will also providing one extra layer of security to us. So let's jump up to the portal and show you that how do we go ahead and utilize the Azure Bastion in here. So now here you can see if I'm moving ahead and creating a new virtual machine. Let me go ahead and create a new virtual machine. Okay, it is opening up. So I want to deploy it onto the AZ-500 RG, and this is going to be my GTLVM01. And this is my Windows Server 2019 Generation 2 image. Let me change size, or here I can set the username and the password. Let me confirm the password. Okay, let me go with the disk. In the networking here, I am not selecting the public IP. Let me select this one as a none. Let me go with the management and go for the review and create. So now here you can see that I am creating a new virtual machine without having the public IP into it. And by using the Azure Bastion service, we can have access to that specific machine over there without having the public IP enabled on that specific virtual machine. That's okay. Let's take have a look. Okay, let me go ahead and click on the create button. And the deployment of my virtual machine is in progress. It may take 3 or 4 minutes, and then we have our new virtual machine GTL VM01 in place. And once we have our virtual machine in place, then we can go ahead and trying to access that specific virtual machine by using both of the method what we have present. First of all, we are going to access that specific virtual machine by using the Azure Bastion. Then we are going to access that machine by using the RDP as well, and we'll see what method is going to be work in order to access that specific virtual machine. Because as you see, I do not have associated any public IP with the virtual machine, and we all know that the private IP is not routable to the internet, so we cannot access the GTLVM01 by using the RDP session because that needs a public IP address. That's okay. And the deployment of my virtual machine is in progress. Till the time the deployment is in progress, let me tell you one more thing. We can deploy Azure Bastion as per virtual network. So what does it mean? It means that if I am having two virtual network available with me, like VNet 1 and VNet 2, and inside my VNet 1, I have four different virtual machines are present, and inside my VNet 2, I have 10 different virtual machines are present, and we want to connect all of these virtual machines by utilizing the Azure Bastion service. So we can only deploy two Azure Bastion host over there because that is deployed based on the virtual network, and that is going to be used for all four virtual machines what we have into the VNet 1, and the another one Azure Bastion what we have deployed into the VNet 2 is going to be useful for all the 10 virtual machines what we have present as a part of the virtual network 2. So in a nutshell we can say that we are deploying the Azure Bastion as per the virtual network. That's okay. Now moving back to the portal and see the status of my virtual machine. So now here you can see my virtual machine is deployed successfully, and inside the public IP address there is nothing present. Let me go ahead and click on the connect it, and I want to connect it with the RDP session. So now here also you can see the error that the IP address prerequisite not met. If you want to access this machine by using the RDP, add a public IP address to the network interface. And still, if I'm trying to access that specific virtual machine, I'm expecting one error. So here you can see, after some time, I'm getting one error because that virtual machine is connecting with the private IP address. Yes, that is available onto the GTechLearn website. And for you, Neela, let me show you one more thing. If you want to access the past webinars, so you can go to the gtechlearn.com and it is opening up. Just wait for 2 more minutes. And from in here into the event and webinars, you can see one thing, past event. And from there, you can access the previous webinars and this one as well. Once this webinar gets done, this is listed over there and you can watch this from in here.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I'm also sharing the link with you and you can utilize that link for your reference.
Definitely. Thank you. I will join you in a bit. Thanks, Vidya.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so I am on accessing the virtual machine and I am getting the error. Now I'm going to access my virtual machine again by utilizing the Azure Bastion. So there is two different way to configure Azure Bastion. The first one that is using the default setting and the another one where you can define your own setting. So this time I'm moving with the default one and it could take 4 or 5 minutes, and then we have new Bastion instance in place. And once we have Azure Bastion in place, then we can go ahead and access our GTL VM01 without having the public IP enabled into it. That's okay. And till the time the deployment is in progress, feel free to ask me about the any query if you have related to the session, any query related to the examination, and I'm here to answer all the queries from you. That's okay. And once we have the Azure Bastion in place, then we are moving ahead and trying to access the specific thing once again. And the important thing is that when the Azure Bastion deployment is completed, you will able to see one new subnet inside your virtual network what we have. And that subnet is known as a Azure Bastion subnet. That is going to be used when you are connecting with your GTLVM 01. That's okay. So here you can see if I'm opening this up on a new tab. Okay, and let me go to the virtual network. And in the virtual network, I have this VNet demo present. And let me see the connected devices. So now here you can see that I have one device that is my GTL VM 01, and that is the network interface of my that VM. And here you can see this network is also connected with one Bastion host. And here inside the subnet, you can see that I have this subnet created by automatically, that is Azure Bastion subnet. That is available onto this specific link, Satya. Okay, you can visit to gtechlearn.com/on-demand event ASPX, and after the session, you will be able to access the recording of this session as well, right? No problem. And now here you can see the deployment of the Bastion is in progress. We need to wait for some more time. And then we can go ahead and test our configuration, what the configuration we are making in here. That's okay. So the Bastion deployment is in progress. As I told you, it may take 4 or 5 minutes. So we need to wait till the deployment is in progress. And the important thing is that when we are accessing the virtual machine by using the Azure Bastion, it is using my browser session in order to access my machine. There is no RDP client required for accessing the virtual machine by using the Azure Bastion over there. As well as if you want to assign more layer of security towards your virtual machine resources, then you can go ahead and implement the Azure firewall where you can create the DNAT rule in order to access your virtual machine. So there are multiple ways to are present in order to securely access our virtual machine. And when we are doing the practicals, then we are assigning the public IP towards the virtual machine, but that should not be a good practice because we are directly facing our virtual machine towards the internet, and that will put our resource into a security risk. So if we want to create the proper secure access to our resources like virtual machines, to servers, what we have deployed over to the Azure, so we can have multiple security options are present. We can go for the network security group if we want to filter the traffic according to the inbound and outbound traffic. We can go with the Azure firewall if we want to set up the security from the virtual network and the subnet level, as well as we can go for the Azure Bastion service if we want to provide the access to the virtual machines without having the ac- public IP enabled on the resource. So we can have multiple options are present into it. Same as like that, here you can see once we have done with that configuration, so we can easily go to the overview section of my virtual machine. Like here I have this GTL VM 01 present. I can go there and click on the connect, and inside the connect here you can see that we have RDP, SSH and Bastion option is present. So if we are trying to access the Windows virtual machine, then normally we can go for the RDP. If we are trying to access any virtual machine with the Linux operating system, then we can go for the SSH, that is secure shell host. And apart from that, if we want to access those virtual machine by using the Bastion, so we can simply go with that Bastion option in here. And now here you can see the Bastion upgrade is in upgrading state. Please refresh the page or try again later. So it could take some time and then we will be able to see that service in here. That's okay. And also, till the time the deployment is in progress, we can go ahead and discuss the next topic as well, because it's taking much time in here and we have a limited time available for this webinar. So apart from that, if you want to manage the uptakes, so you can also one option present over there for managing your uptakes, what we have present into it. So we have multiple options are present. Apart from the bastion, if we want to manage the uptakes for our virtual machine, so we can simply go ahead and work with the uptake management, and by using that, what it will do, it will review the uptake assignment, and accordingly you can define the deployment schedule, you can review the uptakes, and you can automatically apply the uptakes by using the Microsoft Monitor agent for Windows and Linux over there. And you can also create the hybrid runbook in order to automate the uptakes over there. So for example, in your environment you are having the multiple virtual machines are available, multiple servers are there, like Windows server or Linux servers are there, and you want to manage the update for all of those things. So for the same, instead of moving each or every virtual machine one by one and managing the update for those virtual machines, you can go ahead and use that automation option, and you can manage the update for all of those virtual machines. And for the same, what you need to do, you need to create one automation account, then from in then you can go and manage the updates over there. Before moving ahead with the practice questions of this objective domain of AZ-500 exam, let me go ahead and show you how do we go ahead and manage the update management. So for the update management, what you can do, you can search for the automation account, and inside the automation account, you can go ahead and create a new automation account. Let me select the resource group, and this is my automation account 01, for example, and I want to deploy it onto the East US region. Then I can go for the review and create option. So the deployment of my automation account is in progress, as well as deployment of my bastion is also in progress. That's okay. Let me see the status of my bastion deployment as well. Okay, so it is the provisioning mistake is updating, no problem. And now here you can see I have my automation account in place. So in my automation account, here you can see I have multiple options are present, like desired state configuration, change tracking inventory. In the update management, here you can see that I have this option present. So when you are enabling this option for the first time, you must have to select the log analytics workspace. If you do not have any, you can go ahead and create a new one. And from in here, you can enable the update management. And this update management is automatically going to manage the updates for your virtual machines. You can see all the updates that are available for your virtual machines in here. And from in here, you can automatically push the updates to your virtual machines what you have. But the important thing is that whenever you are first time enabling that option, that is update management, and you are adding your virtual machine into it, it could take approximately 1 or more than 1 hour in order to complete the assessment and give you the details for your update over there. And after every 1 and 2 hour, you can see the specific update details, and then you can apply those update towards your virtual machines what you have. So once you are having the uptake details available with you after the assessment completed, then that is totally up to you that how you want to manage the uptake for your virtual machines. Either you can go for the manual process or you can also go with the automation process. So that is totally up to the user that how user want to manage the uptakes for the same. That's okay. So now here you can see the installation of the uptake management solution is in progress. That's okay. So we can come back to this thing later and moving ahead with the practice questions of this objective domain. So moving ahead and opening up the question number 1. So please have your answers on the chat. The question number 1 is an organization has a security policy that prohibits exposing SSH port to the outside world. You need to connect to an Azure Linux virtual machine to install software. What should you do? You can go for configure the Azure Bastion service, configure guest configuration on the VM, create a custom script execution. That's okay. I'm receiving the answer before running the timer. That's really great. And thank you very much for the quick answers in here. And we'll see what's going to be the correct answer. So you guys are absolutely correct for this question. The correct answer is going to be 1, Azure Bastion Service. Moving ahead and talking about the question number 2, what type of disk encryption is used for Windows disk? BitLocker, DMCrypt, and File Vault. Please have your answers. Absolutely correct. So this answer is A. For the encryption of disk is a BitLocker type. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the question number 3, you are configuring and securing a network environment. You deploy an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that is configured to analyze network traffic. You need to ensure that all network traffic is routed through VM1. What should you configure? A system root, network security group, or a user defined group? What is going to be the correct answer? Please have your answers on the chat. Okay, let me see the timer. So for this question, the correct answer is network security group because we need to analyze the network traffic that is routed through the VM1 and we can create the inbound and outbound security rule in order to filter the network traffic towards the virtual machine by using the network security group. So for this question, the correct answer is going to be B, that is the network security group. That's okay. Now, moving ahead with the next question, an organization would like to limit outbound internet traffic from a subnet. Which product should be installed and configured? Azure Firewall, Load Balancer, Azure Bastion. Please have your answers on the chat. So the correct answer is Azure Firewall. And thank you very much everyone for the quick answers in here. Moving ahead with the next question. Which service below are features of Azure Application Gateway? Authentication, Layer 7 load balancing, vulnerability assessment. Please have your answers on the chat. So yes, for this question, the correct answer is going to be layer 7 load balancing, because Azure Application Gateway is providing us the layer 7 load balancing where we can create the URL based routing over there. That's okay. That is all what we have to discuss. And we have one more question present in here in this subjective domain. So that is, an organization has a web application and is concerned about attacks that flood the network layer with a substantial amount of seemingly legitimate traffic. How can this type of network attack be blocked? Configure network security group, create a DDoS policy, add an Azure firewall. So please have your answers on the chat. No, for this question, the correct answer is B. Here you can see the application is concerned about attack that are flood the network layer with substantial amount of seemingly legitimate traffic. So that is the part of the DDoS attack over there. So for the same, we need to create a DDoS policy over there. So for this question, the correct answer is going to be B. That is create a DDoS policy. That's okay. And that is all what we have to discuss into that specific thing over there. Now, moving ahead and talking about the next concept, that is securing the data application. But before moving to that, let's jump up to the portal. We have two pending deployments are in progress. Let me go with the no, and here you can see in the Azure Bastion, the new Azure Bastion is created. That's okay. And again, if I'm trying to access my GTL VM01, let me connect it by using the Bastion. Then here I have to provide the username, that is AZ user, and let me enter the password. And let me go ahead and click on the connect. This is the correct password. Maybe it is opening up, and now here you can see that I am connecting with my virtual machine and my VM is connected with the Azure Bastion, and a browser based session is opening up, and I will be able to access my virtual machine by using the Azure Bastion without even having the public IP associated with my virtual machine. So that is how we can utilize the Azure Bastion. That's okay. Talking about the next deployment, so that is enabled, and again I'm moving back to the update management in here. Let me go back to the update management, or else I can refresh this page. And now here you can see in the update management I have enabled that specific option, and I can add the Azure virtual machine in order to update the VM, and I can see how many virtual machines I have available. So GTL VM01 is available. Let me click on the enable. Once I click on the enable, as I told you, it take 1 hour approximately or more than 1 hour to complete the assessment and give me the update details over there. So that is the way how you can enable the update management for your Azure virtual machine over there. That's all right. Now, moving ahead with the next objective domain, that is securing the data and application over there. And into this objective domain, we are going to discuss Azure Key Vault, application security, storage security, and the database security related things over there. Talking about the first one, so if I'm talking about the Azure Key Vault, so that is the managed service provided by the Microsoft to us. And by using that specific service, we can store our keys, our certificates, or our things into that specific thing. And by using the Azure Key Vault over there, we can import an key or encryption keys in a make. Let me quickly give you the quick example of the Azure Key Vault. If I'm moving back to my portal in here, so now you can see that I have used my password in order to access my virtual machine. Apart from that, what else I can do? Here you can see I can go for my Azure homepage, and let me go ahead and search for the Key Vault. My apologies for the spelling mistake. Let me create a new one, and I want to deploy it into the AZ-500 RG resource group. And the name of my key vault is, that is my password KV for VM. Okay. And I want to deploy it into the ESQS region. Let me go ahead and click on the review and create. So it is validating the settings, what I have selected for creating the key vault, and everything looks good in here. And I have initiated the deployment of my key vault. Once I have my key vault in place, then I can store my secrets, my certificates, and my keys into my key vault. So this time I'm going to utilize this key vault by storing my secret of my virtual machine, that is GTLVM01. And once my this key vault deployment has been done, then I'm going to utilize that specific key vault in order to make login into my GTLVM01 by utilizing the Azure Bastion over there. So just wait for the few moments till the time the deployment for the key vault is in progress. And then we are going to create a new secret into it. So let me go to the secret, and I want to generate a new one. And the name of my secret is GTLVM password, or else the GTLVM01 password. And in the value, let me type the password, and I'm going to create this secret. And now here you can see I have this secret available, and I can see the value of my secret as well. That is this one. Now let me go ahead onto this page and refresh my this page where I'm trying to connect my virtual machine by using the Azure Bastion. Here, let me provide the username, that is the user. And in the authentication type, I am going to utilize this one, that is a password from Azure Key Vault. And here I am selecting my Key Vault, what I have just created, password for, or password KV for VM. In the secret, I have selected my secret, and let me click on the connect. Let me close the existing session, and I'm clicking on the connect button in here. And then I will be able to connect with my virtual machine, and my password is coming up from my Azure Key Vault over there. Okay, let me click on the connect again. Okay, and it says Azure session should be initiated only from Azure portal. Please log into the Azure portal. I have logged into my Azure portal. Let me refresh that page. And from in from in here, let me type my username, like it says the user. And in the password, I'm selecting password from the key vault. Let me select the key vault and the secret what I have. And let me click on the connect button. And now here you can see I have connected with my virtual machine by utilizing the key vault. Okay, so that is the use of key vault. So if we want to secure our secret, our keys, our certificates in our central secure manner, so for the same we can go ahead and utilize the Azure Key Vault. That's okay. Now moving ahead and talking about the safety and the recovery feature, what we have present into the Key Vault. So we can have the soft click protection. So if the soft click protection is not enabled and we are deleting the key vault, then key vault is permanently deleted and it is not be recovered. But with having the soft delete protection enabled, when we delete the key vault, it is moved to the soft deleted state. And if we want, we can recover that key vault over there. And for the same, we can have the required permission available. We can also go ahead and download the backup of our key vault as well. So these all are the two options are available when we are talking about the safety and the recovery features for our key vault over there. That's okay. Moving ahead with the next topic that is talking about the app registration. So if we want to use any application that outsources the authentication to the Azure Active Directory and it must be registered into the Azure Active Directory. So we can go ahead and make the login to the Azure Active Directory as well. And once we create the registration, it will create a token information, including the application unique ID, secrets, and object ID related things over there. That's okay. Now, moving ahead with the next thing and talking about the graph permission. So if we want to authorize the different API calls towards our application, what we have registered into the Azure Active Directory. So by utilizing the Microsoft Graph permissions over there, we can delegate the different permissions that are used by the application and we can have the present signed in user over there, and application permission are used by the application that can also run without a signed user. So here you can see by utilizing the Microsoft Graph API permission, we can provide the graph permission to the specific application for the different resources like Azure Storage, Azure Data Explorer, Azure Key Vault, Azure Data Catalog, Azure Batch, and multiple applications what we have or multiple services what we have in which we want to provide the permission over there. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the app service in here, so that is a platform as a service offering from the Microsoft over there, and that is something where we are having the capability to deploy our web application over there, and it could be on the platform Java, it could be on .NET platform, it could be on Node, PHP, and Python. So that is a application service, and by utilizing that one, we can create the interactive web applications over there. And for those web application, we are having the app service plan is available. The app service plan is something where we are having the compute resources related things are available, like how much capacity is going to be utilized with my specific application. And the important thing is that if we have one app service plan available with us, we can utilize that specific app service plan with multiple application what we have created. And we can have app service plans are available according to the operating system like Windows or the Linux. We can have app service plans are available according to the region, West QS, East QS. In our app service plan, we are having the multiple number of instances are available. We can also go ahead and manage the size of the VM instance what we have present into our app service plan, like small, medium, and the large. Or else we can have Multiple pricing tiers are also available in the app service plan, like free, shared basic, standard premium, premium V2, premium V3, isolated and isolated V2. And accordingly, what the pricing tier we are selecting for the specific app over there, we are getting the specific features enabled inside our web application over there. So let's jump up to the portal and see what are the different things what we have available over there. So here we are searching for the app service. Okay, I'm not searching about this one. Let me go with the app service option. And now here you can see that I have this one app service present. And this app service is containing one app service plan. And here you can see, we can see all the detail, like what are the things what we have available. We can scale up and scale down our app service plan. But as of now, in this course, we are talking about the security related things. So I'm not moving much deeper into it, my apologies, into the apps over there. Instead of that, we can talk about the networking, or else we can talk about the different TLS and SSL settings that is related to securing our application, what we are creating, and how app service plan help us in the same. So here you can see if I'm creating a new application over there, and this is going to be the resource group, and this is my AZ demo web app here. And let me type the name which is available, and here you can see in the app service plan, the by default it is selected with the premium V2 P1 plan. Here you can see in the development and test area, I have two plan available, F1 and V1, and inside that we are having what things are available. If I'm going through with the free plan, there is no security options are available. We cannot add the SSL and TLS certificates into it. If I'm moving ahead with the production one and the isolated one, then here you can see we have private app access available. We can go with the traffic manager. We can go with the isolated network option. So by using that specific thing, we can only run that specific application within our virtual network as well. So we can have multiple options are present according to the pricing tier or app service plan what we are selecting up over there. So as of now, I'm talking about the security in here. So that is something which we can utilize. And if you want to set or select the maximum or minimum compute resources for your virtual machine. So for the same, you can also go for the app service plans over there. That's okay. Now, moving ahead and talking about the shared access signatures in here. So that is something that is known as a security related thing. Now, for the same, let me give you a quick example in here. And here I'm moving back to my portal, and let me go back from in here and my storage account what I have created previously. Here let me go to the networking section, and in the networking section I'm going to provide all network access again. Let me save it. And now here you can see my network settings are saved. Let me refresh this page, and I'm again trying to access the container what I have created. Here you can see in the storage browser, I can go ahead, and again I have access to the container because I have changed the network setting. Let me go ahead and make the change access level to the private no anonymous access, and I want to upload a new file in here. Let me browse for the file, and let me go to the pictures, and I want to upload that picture. Let me click on the upload, and my one this picture is uploaded. Here you can see if I see the overview of this picture, here I am having this URL. But if I'm trying to access that specific URL, I am getting this error, or else I'm also sharing this URL with you, and you guys also will not able to access that URL. It says that the resource not found, but technically you can see the resource is present in here. Let me close these tabs. And here you can see I have this resource present into my corp data. Why I'm getting this error? Because if I'm moving ahead in the container, here you can see into the container access level, it is set to the private, no anonymous access. But still, if I want to give that specific file access to the specific user, so for the same, what I can do, I can go ahead into it and select my specific resource. And here you can see I have one option present that is generate SaaS. Let me go ahead and give the permission and let me generate the SaaS token and the URL. Let me copy this URL and again I'm trying to access my resource with this URL, and yes, I will be able to access, I'm able to access that specific URL, and I have also shared that specific URL on the chat with you. Please try to access that URL and let me know for the same if you guys have access to that specific image. That's okay. Now here you can see I'm pasting both of the URLs what I have copied. This is the first one and that is the another one. Now you can see one thing. If I'm talking about the first one, here you can see I'm having my storage account name. Then what is the service I'm using? That is blob service. And then what is the name of my container and what is the file name what I'm trying to access. Okay, Gyan, and thank you for the quick confirmation. But when we are talking about the SaaS URL, so here you can see I'm having my storage account name, the service what I am using, my container name, my file name. Then apart from that, we are having this token available, and this is the SaaS token where I'm having the permission for the read, what is the start time, what is going to be the end time, and which protocols is going to be allowed, HTTPS and the related things, and this is the token what I have enabled. If I am moving back in here and let me go ahead and I want to assign more permission, I want to assign the write, delete and create permission in here, and let me go with the generic SaaS token URL and let me copy that SaaS URL again, and I'm again pasting up that URL here. Now you can see into the shared permission, I am having read, write, create, and delete permissions are added into this specific token. So that is how we can work with the shared access signature. That's okay. So we can have different SaaS types are available. We can generate the SaaS on the account service and the user delegation. We can configure the permission that what is the start or expiry time for that specific SaaS token, from which IP address we want to give the access, which is the allowed protocol and the different things over there. That's okay. Now, moving ahead with the next part that is talking about the Azure storage access. So, when we are accessing the storage, the every request must be authorized. And here in the chart, you can see different authorization methods are available. So, if you are trying to access the Azure blob, then shared access key for storage account, shared access signature, Azure area authorization, and anonymous publicly access is supportable. However, the on-premises Active Directory domain service authorization is not supported onto that one. If I'm talking about the next service, that is Azure File Assembly service, so in that one, the shared access signature is not supported. Azure Active Directory authentication is supported with only Azure Active Directory domain services, and it is supported with the credential must be synced to the Azure AD if you want to access that specific files with the on-premises synced user, and anonymous public read access is not supported. And if I'm talking about the queue and the table, then in that case, only these three options are supported for the same. So that is the different storage access related things what we have available. That's okay. Moving ahead and talking about the SQL database firewall. So that is the simple when we are talking about the database. So by default, firewall denies all the access. So if we have the database in place and we want to access that space data over there, then we have to add the client range IP address, and that is known as a server level firewall rule. If we set it to the yes and add our client IP address, then we can have only access to the database, and otherwise the connection goes fail over there. So we can have multiple security things are available into the database level as well. We can have the server level firewall rules available. We can have a encryption related things are also available with the database security. So that is something what we have as a part of the examination domain into the AZ-500 onto that specific objective domain. So let's move ahead with the practice questions from this specific exam domain. And moving ahead with the first question that is talking about which of the following items should be stored in Azure Key Vault. The first option is secret, second option is links to external certificate, and the third option is identity management. So please have your answers on the chat. Okay, so the correct answer is going to be A, that is a secret. Correct answer. Moving ahead with the next question, a select group of user must be able to create and delete keys in the key vault when authenticating to the data plane using Azure Active Directory. What security tool should be used to authorize access at a role level to these users? What is going to be the correct answer? Azure Key Vault based Key Vault access policy, role based access control, Azure AD authentication. Please have your answers on the chat. Okay, so for this question, the correct answer is role-based access control, because here you can see a selected group of users must be able to create and delete keys in the key vault when authenticating to the data plane, and inside that we are having the role-based access control available. So for this question, the correct answer is going to be the role-based access control. That's okay. Moving ahead with the next question, what type of firewall rules can be configured for an Azure SQL database? Data center level firewall rule, server level firewall rule, and the table level firewall rule. Please have your answers on the chat. So the correct answer for this question is B. So that is the correct answer. Maybe there is some glitch in this answer, but the correct answer is going to be B. You guys are correct. Okay, no problem. Moving ahead with the question number 4, when configuring an Azure file share for the business group, which of the following is true? Azure files can authenticate to Azure Active Directory domain services. Azure files cannot authenticate to on-premises Active Directory domain service. Azure files can use RBAC for share level or directory file permission. So what is going to be the correct answer for this one? Please have your answers on the chat. Okay, so for this one, Azure files can authenticate to Active Directory domain service. That's okay. So let's discuss on this answer in here. So as I shown you the chart, let me come back into it and let me resume it. So if I'm talking about this slide, let me move back in here on to this slide, and here you can see when we are talking about the Azure files, so supported only with AAD domain services. So if I am moving ahead on to that specific question, what we have in here, so you can see that is authenticate to Azure Active Directory domain service. So this is going to be a correct answer. But if we are having the Active Directory domain services are present, so in that case, we can have this answer as a incorrect. No problem, Aryan. Okay, moving ahead with the last objective of the exam prep session of AZ-500, that is manage security operations. So if I'm talking about this one, so here we can have three different objectives are there. That is Azure Monitor, Defender for Cloud, and Microsoft Sentinel. If I'm talking about the Azure Monitor in here, so Azure Monitor is something which can monitor the resource to watch how all resources are performing over there, and it will also trigger the alert if there is any sort of problem is present. So in a nutshell, we can say that Azure Monitor is a monitoring system that helps you to keep an eye onto the different Azure resources what you are having over there. That's okay. And if I'm talking about this one, so the Azure Monitor is giving us the all of the data type present in the form of metrics and the log. So by using the Azure Monitor, we can have the insight to the applications, containers, VM, and the different monitoring solution. We can visualize the information and the reports by using the different dashboard, views, Power BI, and the workbooks. If we want to analyze those results, so we can have Matrix Explorer and the log analytics are available. For responding any kind of problem over there, we can having the alerts and the auto scale related things, and for the integration and the automation processes for the same, we can have the event hub, logic hub, and the export APIs are present, what we can utilize into the Azure Monitor in order to remediate with the problems what we are detecting by using the Azure Monitor over there. So event hub is also an important thing, like the streaming platform where we can have all the event ingestions are available, and we can use it for the batch processing over there. That's okay. So we can keep an eye on all the resources what we have by using the Azure Monitor, as well as we can go ahead and configure the Azure Monitor alert for the same. Now, apart from that, if I'm talking about the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, so Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a cloud native service that is providing us the cloud workload protection, where we can protect our different resources what we have present into the Microsoft Cloud over there, like virtual machines, servers, Kubernetes, container registries, our app services, our key vaults, SQL database, and we can have the dashboard available where we can have all the information are present. If I'm talking about the features of the Defender for Cloud, so that will is something that is central hub for monitoring and the security status. It will protect our Azure and the hybrid and multi-cloud environments as well. What it means, so if we have our workloads are present into the Microsoft Azure, then we can have the security option present into the Microsoft Defender, as well as if we have hybrid environment where we are ingesting our on-premises workload towards the Azure, then Microsoft Defender for Cloud is also going to be give us the protection for the same, as well as if we are having the resources and the workloads are present onto the multi-cloud environment like AWS and the Google Cloud Platform over there, then we can also go ahead and utilize the Microsoft Defender for Cloud for the protection of those things. It will continually assess your environment, and accordingly it will detect the things, detect the security risk, respond against the things and prevent yourself and prevent your organization with the different security related things. In that Microsoft Defender for Cloud, there are different security policies are there in order to ensure the compliance related thing. And if I'm talking about the tiers in there, so we are having the free and the Microsoft Defender for Cloud enabled tier available. Apart from that, it will provide us the secure score for the resources, and by getting the secure score, we can check how secure we are into the cloud workload over there. Moving ahead and talking about the Microsoft Sentinel, so that is a central service from where we can ingest all logs, and by getting those logs we can identify the different risks, different threats what we have, and accordingly we can have the response management thing available into it. So if I'm talking about the Microsoft Sentinel is in here, so that is a combination of the same, that is security information and event management, as well as this is a combination of the security orchestration and automation response as well, that will help you to detect the attacks over there. Accordingly you can have the open threat visibility present, and once you find the threat over there, you can go ahead and create a proactive hunting and the threat response over there. So how Microsoft Sentinel work, it will collect all the data from the all your devices, users, application, infrastructure. That doesn't matter where your infrastructure is present, you only have to connect that specific infrastructure with the Microsoft Sentinel, and it will start collecting the data from there. Then after collecting all the data from the different sources what you have configured, it will detect the previously uncovered threat and false positives over there by using the different analytics and the threat intelligence and AI related things from the Microsoft. And accordingly, if any threat found over there, it will investigate the threat with the AI capabilities of Microsoft, hunt the different suspicious activities over there, and accordingly it will respond to the different threats, and the incidents rapidly orchestrated and automated with the common tasks over there. So we can have multiple options are present into the Microsoft Sentinel as well. That's okay. So that is a brief about the Microsoft Sentinel over there. Now let's go ahead and take a look over to the some practice questions to this exam objective domain. So the question number is one is, when running a query of log analytics workspace, which query language is used? Contextual query language, embedded SQL, and Quisco query language. What is going to be the correct answer? Please have your answers on the chat. No, for this one, the correct answer is going to be KQL. They remember, guys, whenever we are running a query into the log analytics workspace, it will work on to the KQL, that is Crystal Query language over there. That's okay. Moving ahead with the next question, that is data collected by Azure Monitor, collect fix into which two fundamental type? What are those type of data? Event and alert, logs and metrics, records and triggers. What is going to be the correct answer? So for this question, the correct answer is going to be B, because Azure Monitor is collecting the log and the matrices over there. That's okay. And the third question is, you have an Azure environment. You need to identify any Azure configuration and workload that are non-compliant with ISO 27001. 2013 scanner, what should you use? Azure Sentinel, Azure Active Directory, Azure Identity Protection, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Microsoft Defender for Identity. What is going to be the correct answer? Okay, so it says that D, but the correct answer for this question is going to be Microsoft Defender for Cloud, because Microsoft Defender for Identity is going to be work for the user protection related thing. And here it is talking about the Azure configuration workload that is complying with those standards over there. That's okay. Moving ahead with the question number 4, you are collecting events from Azure Virtual Machine to an Azure Log Analytics workspace. You want to create alerts based on the collected event. You need to identify which Azure service can be used to create the alert. Which two service should you identify? Azure Monitor, Azure Security Center, Azure Analysis Service, Azure Sentinel, or Azure Monitor, the first option. So what is the correct answer? In this question, there are two correct answers. So please have a look. So yes, A and D is going to be the correct answer for this question. That's okay. So that is all what we have into this exam prep session for AZ-500. And thank you very much everyone for joining me today into this exam prep session. And if you want to join more free sessions what we have present, so you can go to that website, that is GTechLearn.com/webinar-ASPX. And as well as if you guys are having any query, please let me know for the same. I'm happy to help you up on your queries as well. So it's all right. It looks like everything is fine in here. So thank you very much everyone for joining me in the session, and you can also visit our website and go to the past events in order to access the previous events what we have. And thank you everyone for joining me in this session. Yes.
Sorry. Ayush, can you just tell me what is the difference between this Microsoft Sentinel and Defender?
Okay, if I'm talking about the Microsoft Defender, okay, so that is the security related thing that is protecting our workload for the different security things where we can secure our things. If I'm talking about the Sentinel, so that is a one place where we can collect all the logs what we have, and we can analyze the threats over to that logs over there, right? So that is the collection service which we can use for the logs related things, right?
Okay, so Sentinels mostly related with the GRC.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, thanks for the lovely session.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.